on GB News.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff.
And my name is Julie, and we won 25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
My next guest's book will certainly provoke you. Lord Sarch's book, Orgasm, probes 21 such ideas, chapter by chapter, in a stimulating reading experience, covering subjects from geopolitics and etiquette to the economy and the afterlife. Maurice Sarchi argues that rigorous thinking can create a blissful mental experience.
Well, the title is Orgasm, and I try to investigate the question of whether it's possible for there to be an orgasm of the mind which is equal in bliss to a physical orgasm. That's very interesting. And theoretically, the way that arises, I'll finish. Theoretically, the way that arises is by addressing conflicting ideas and then for there to be a revelation of true wisdom. That's the purpose of the book. And I think you can sum up British politics completely in 2 sentences. You'll understand very well, Michael. Conservatives are efficient but cruel. Labour is caring but incompetent. So you can see there that if you have a situation in which the Conservative Party turns out to be, in people's opinion, inefficient and cruel, well, then you're likely to have a very bad election result, which is exactly what we just did. And why?
So you have quite a lot to say to Kemi Badenoch. I mean, the first thing you would say to her would be, read my book, please, I suppose.
Well, that's absolutely the first thing. It's a perfect Christmas present for her to give, as I was saying. So that's number one. So after she's done that, well, then her level of wisdom, which I'm sure is already very high, will be greatly increased, and she'll be able to address the complex, provocative, controversial issues aired in this book.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out why wearing a T-shirt and being a Lib Dem could rake in the cash, who is stopping Starmer from getting his first #1 hit, and why you'd better clean your balls. I'm Josh Howie, and Leo Kearse and Paul Cox are on the panel. Together, we're going to take you through tomorrow's top stories. This is Headliners. But before Wednesday's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Josh, thank you. Good evening. It's just gone 11 o'clock. I'm Sophia Wensler with your headlines. Sarah Sharif's father and stepmother have been sentenced to life in prison for the brutal murder of their 10-year-old daughter following years of horrific abuse. Irfan Sharif was handed a minimum of 40 years in prison, while Bainash Batul received 33 years. Her uncle Faisal Malik was jailed for 16 years for failing to prevent her death. Sarah was hooded, burned and beaten during a campaign of torture that lasted 2 years before her body was found at a family home in Surrey in 2023. Nigel Farage is back in the UK after meeting with Elon Musk at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. The Reform UK leader was joined by his party treasurer, Nick Candy, to meet with Musk amid speculation the tech billionaire could make a donation to the party. Speaking on GBNews earlier, Nigel Farage said donations were discussed.
All the press stories, we did discuss money. Now, that's a negotiation we will go back and have again. He is not against giving us money. He hasn't fully decided whether he will. If he does, it wouldn't be anything like the ludicrous telephone numbers quoted in the Sunday Times. But the most important thing is this. This is what Musk said to me. He said, British politics now has a uni-party. There is very little to choose between the Labour and Conservative parties. And he genuinely fears that the mother country of the English-speaking world is frankly going down the tubes. But he has not closed his mind towards helping us in any way that he...
Luigi Mangione, the man accused of shooting dead an insurance chief in New York, has been charged with murder as an act of terrorism. Mr. Mangione is suspected of shooting Brian Thompson, chief executive of United Healthcare, on the 4th of December. He had already been charged with murder, but the terror allegation is new. Police arrested him after a 5-day manhunt that ended with them finding the 26-year-old in a McDonald's. The government has rejected calls for compensation for women affected by changes to the state pension age. The Work and Pension Secretary says paying a flat rate to all women born in the 1950s would cost taxpayers more than £10 billion and wouldn't be fair. Women Against State Pension Inequality, also known as WASPI, say they weren't properly informed about the changes. While Liz Kendall admitted there was a delay in notifying women, she insisted most were aware of the pension age rise. She has now confirmed there will be no compensation scheme, despite the calls for one. And fresh train strikes have been announced over New Year after an offer was rejected by Avanti West Coast staff. Workers are walking out after rejecting a deal aimed at resolving a dispute over rest day working. The RMT union said its members working as train managers will strike on New Year's Eve, January the 2nd, and Sundays between January 12th and May 25th. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Oh, hello. No, where is he? I'm here. No, that's not Josh Howie. Where is... No, that's not Josh Howie.
Very Lawrence of
He's
Arabia.
here somewhere. I'm going to go and now I'm going to move around the studio. I'm going to start moving around this way so they can't get me. Oh, there he is! Hey! It was like I was like that little naughty Christmas elf going
like
around
a David
everywhere.
Attenborough film.
Well, hello! Welcome to Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's top stories with 3 comedians. But before we dive in, let's have a look at what Leo and Paul will have to work with on Wednesday's front pages. First up, Daily Telegraph, Musk ready to bankroll Farage. The Eye, victory for the victims of the second post office IT scandal. Guardian, Moscow blast kills Russian chemical weapons chief. The Metro, brave and spirited to the end. The Daily Mirror, we have been betrayed. And the Daily Star, poor Casso. Well, hello, gentlemen. How are you both?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Thank you, Josh.
Lots and lots and lots of news today. Shall we kick off with the Telegraph, Leo?
Yes, the Telegraph leads with Musk ready to bankroll Farage. So Nigel Farage is cozying up to Elon Musk under a portrait of Donald Trump as the donation hint is dropped. Previously, Musk denied that he was going to donate £80 million, $100 million to Reform, but Labour and the Tories should be worried because we saw what happened in America when Musk donated and put his weight behind Donald Trump to win. And Donald Trump was written off, years ago as, somebody who, he had his chance. He was probably going to be in jail. So it shows how, politics can really be, the dial can turn. So Farage and Musk met at President-elect Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida alongside the ex-Tory donor and property developer Nick Candy, who's now Reform UK's new treasurer after ditching the Conservatives. So this is another, big money man, another successful go-getter who's getting behind Reform instead of the Tories.
Let's have a look at him, Paul. He looks a little bit like Paul. We've got a little photo of him here. I think he looks like a slightly more svelte Paul, no offence.
Who, Elon Musk?
There. Yeah, and then... no, not Elon Musk. But my favourite bit is the photo of Trump there. For me, that's got a little Ghostbusters 2 vibe.
Yeah.
It's got the sort of, is he coming alive? You can sense his presence in the
Paul
background.
and I were discussing whether it's commissioned or if it's a fan just sent it in. Sometimes people send in felt-tip drawings they've done of us.
He does look incredibly good in it. It's a bit like My Opinion, who does all the AI images of us. Could well be him. I think we all know what's going on here, though. Elon Musk is...
Is he playing cricket in that? I didn't know he was
he's got the old
fan.
sweater on, which reminds me of maybe the top colleges in the 60s and 70s in the US.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So following on from what Leo was talking about this money, and Farage is saying that it's an undisclosed amount, it's nothing like the 100 million. But it wasn't really money that won it in America. I would argue possibly it was his expertise, and this seems to be what Farage seems more excited about, is having the backing of someone like Elon Musk and having the clout on social media and the advice that comes with that.
Well, it won't do him any harm whatsoever. I'd be interested to see what the money would be. He said there it won't be the numbers that have been quoted.
I heard it's a tenner.
Do you know what? I looked this up before the show. Both the Tories and Labour are about 60 million. It's 59 million in their coffers, essentially, and Farage has got about 1.3. If they were to be given 80 million, that would make them the richest party.
But the Democrats spent way more money than the Republicans this time. They didn't win.
Minimum $1 billion Kamala Harris spent, and they're talking about $2 billion, whereas Trump was a lot less. And the end of it, the big story here really is that Elon Musk is ready to engage with Farage, which is a huge step forward.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I personally feel about the interference, but...
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Labour have stepped in, like Zara Sultana and some other people have stepped in to say, this is terrible, this is offshore, this is foreign influence. All of a sudden, people coming from offshore is bad now, is it? But, they've said, this is awful. They can't have this influence on British politics. But Labour themselves received £4 million from an offshore hedge fund. So, nobody's got clean hands in politics.
That's the other thing. There is something quite funny here where they're talking about Farage saying that we better play ball with Trump because otherwise, in terms of getting closer to the EU, otherwise Trump's going to hit us with 20% tariffs for British imports into America. Of course, the joke is that we don't have any imports into America. So good luck threatening us with that one. There's now the little story here. Starmer, I want to reassure firms there will be no more tax rises. This is... How's that working out?
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic thing that politicians say right before they do that thing. He wants to reassure firms that there will be no more tax rises. He wants to, but there will be more tax rises.
It's nice to do that. And also a big thing here, bottle of wine a week, better than statins. So rather than taking aspirin or something for your heart, I would say up it to a bottle a day, maybe.
Yeah, well, if a bottle a week's good for you, then why would a bottle a day not be much
what it
better?
says on the Telegraph.
Exactly. I'm sure doctors would back this as well, Josh.
No, of course. I should point out to people who don't have a sense of humour that was a joke. Right, let's move on to the Mirror, please.
Yeah, this is a big story. Big story, I think. We have been betrayed, and this story is all about the WASPI women. Government rejects call to pay compensation to 3.5 million women who lost out in the pension shake-up. Most people will be aware, but a lot of women that were born in the 50s, this includes my mum, actually, she missed out. They had to wait years and years. They were going to receive their pension at like 63, 64, ended up receiving it at 67.
I can't believe your mum was born at 50. She's so fit. Hello, Mrs.
Thanks
Cox.
very much. Hillary will be very, very pleased.
Hillary? Oh, she
I know.
We call her Mrs. Cox.
But, I mean, exactly. What we've got here is Liz Kendall, and she is the Pension Secretary for Labour. And it's a rarity, this story, quite a delicious rarity in the sense that the Mirror are criticising Labour, but they have no choice, because Labour did actually make a promise during the election campaign that they would honour this compensation, and they've pulled out on it. Now, we all know that governing is a lot harder than it looks, so I can understand why they've done it in terms of the public coffers, but this seems to be like another own goal for me. Very easy thing. They were only compensating 1,000 to 2,500 per woman, so it wasn't a massive
Well, it would be up to £10.5 billion.
It would be £10.5 billion.
And that pays for a lot of UNRWA's fees for a lot of Palestinian terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, you
for
could
that.
run our refugee centres for about a fortnight for that amount of money. So this is a substantial amount of money. But yeah, I think the government. It's weird that with the things that the government are cutting that aren't actually saving that much money, but are hugely unpopular, like the farmers' tax.
Yeah.
It's just £500 million.
You're saying that's actually going to cost us £1 billion.
Yeah. Same with private, the VAT on private schools. That's going to cost us money. The pensioners' heating stuff, that's not saving a huge amount of money. And we're spending way more than that on unpopular things such as, putting cross-channel migrants in fancy, stately homes and stuff. And this is another thing that's going to be hugely unpopular. But yeah, I mean, I think £10.5 billion, which obviously is going to spiral as soon as Labour's accountants get to it.
I don't know why they're wearing white masks. Do you see that on the
Because they were faceless. No face, no voice, no
I thought it was to hide wrinkles or something. Yeah. OK, then.
Dangerous move.
Please don't message me. Let's move on to The Guardian, Leo.
So this is a real James Bond story. This is a Moscow blast kills Russian chemical weapons chief. So this is a senior Russian general who died yesterday after an explosive device hidden in an electric scooter was detonated outside an apartment building in Moscow in an attack by Ukraine that marks one of the boldest assassinations of a senior military official since the Ukraine war began. This is Igor Kirillov, who was the head of their chemical, biological and radiological weapons unit. So all the bad ones there. And
bad dude, by all accounts.
Oh, yeah, a bad guy. And he was a mouthpiece for the Kremlin. He was very close to Putin. So this is a real projection of power by Ukraine, saying even in Moscow, they can take people out. And this was quite a sophisticated IED. Had to be detonated, people think, by somebody in the area with, a car key fob. Unless they just let somebody, somebody's just unlocking their Renault and set it off back.
These scooters are very dangerous.
Well, this is the thing. They say electric scooters are fine. This one just blew up. But yeah, I mean, it did have a kilogram of Semtex attached to it with some rusty nails. But yeah, I mean, this also shows that Russians are probably working with Ukraine. And we've seen Assad in Syria fall. He was suddenly exposed as incredibly weak when people thought he was secure. Could the same thing happen in places like Iran and in Russia? This really exposes the weakness of the Russian state. They can't stop attacks in Moscow
That's the
itself.
problem with autocratic states, when they rule by fear and when it's shown to be an illusion. Absolutely, they topple here. Of course, Russia has vowed revenge. What are they going to do? Do you think they'll start a war or something?
I think they might continue the war that they started. And I don't think it bodes well for the people of Ukraine, because ultimately this is a stark reminder, isn't it? A stark reminder this war is still very much raging. The rhetoric in the news over the last couple of months since Trump won his emphatic victory is that Trump's going to come in, he's going to stop the war. But this is a huge win for Ukraine, but I feel like it's going to be a big problem for the Ukraine people.
Well, I think we're entering a period because peace is on the horizon. Both sides are actually amping up the fighting. So
absolutely, to get us to the best position possible. Quick congratulations to the Olympian Keely Hodgkinson, who won the BBC Sports Personality. There's a picture of her on The Guardian, and well done BBC for choosing a woman.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah, I know. I think that's an actual woman. I haven't seen one of those for a while. So well done from the BBC. The Times now, please, Paul.
Yeah, fasting thins your barnet as well as your body, apparently, apparently, Josh. I mean, I've started fasting just in the last month, and it's working for me. And I don't know if my hair's thinning. I imagine you fast quite a bit, Josh.
Yep, that's how I get this body.
But research has shown that...
Get off me.
Whilst it can stunt weight gain, it will stunt stem cell growth within hair follicles. So not eating enough seems to starve the stem cell of hair follicles and prevents it from growing, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know how many people would rather be thin and bold or fat and hairy.
I would choose... That is a genuine dilemma.
Yeah.
I'm going to say fat and hairy.
I'm mastering it.
You're going... We could swap...
I'd love to. Yeah, why not?
Not that you're...
Put the curly hair on you, Josh.
I think you just get yourself to Turkey.
Yeah.
Get somebody to get a Turkish doctor to move your hair around and
get it from my back and get it on top of my head. Yeah, fair enough. And let's just finally do the Daily Star, Leo.
So the Daily Star has wonky dog who looks like piece of modern art takes world by storm. This is Paul Casso, and yeah, there's a dog who looks like he's melting. frankly. He's I don't know if he's suffering from a neurological condition or a stroke or something, but he is a bit on a slant.
Isn't it a bit offensive, Paul, to this dog? It's going to hurt his feelings, calling it some sort of wonky dog.
Yeah, it looks like, bless him. I mean, I do love animals. I particularly love dogs and cats, but this guy looks like he's had a bit of a stroke, and not the good kind.
Very nice. Good. Let's take us to the break on that one. Front pages now thoroughly dissected. Up next, find out what list Starmer has topped and why, when it comes to sentencing pedos, it's all about who you know. This is GB News.
Nana Queer. Weekends from 3 p.m.
Today I am joined by documentary maker Daniel Wing, who is still trying to find out who murdered his mother 30 years on. He's also created a documentary called Who Murdered You, Mum? Daniel, can you just tell us the story of what happened to your mother, what you know?
So when I was 1 year old in 1992, my mum, Tina, was murdered. My dad went on trial for it and was acquitted. And the case went unsolved and has been unsolved for 32 years. My nan, who raised me, amazing woman, passed away sadly 2 years ago, and that kind of sent me on a quest for answers.
So your documentary then, what are you hoping to achieve with it?
I am fighting for justice for my mum. I have had a meeting with the police and they are looking to see what they have and are looking to reopen investigation if they can find new and compelling evidence. What's interesting now is speaking to other families who are actually going through the trauma and experience of murder.
Yeah.
My mum didn't get the opportunity to be a mum. What would my life have been? I'm now 33 years old with no parents. And it's that kind of thing. It's a very, I guess, lonely journey in what I'm experiencing. That's why I wanted to make this film, because I hadn't had the opportunity to be able to grieve my mother and know who she was. And that was really what this journey was about. It was about finding out who she was and being able to grieve. Everyone had the opportunity, although terrible circumstances, to be able to go to the funeral and have that moment, and I never had that opportunity.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie, joined by Leo Kearse and Paul Cox. Daily Mail next, and Paul, don't look a gift island in the face.
No, fresh hopes that UK surrender of Chagos Islands could be scrapped as new Mauritius PM demands more money from Britain. This is a chap called Navin Rangulan, and he's the new PM, and he says the deal that his predecessor done is simply not good enough. And this is coupled with Donald Trump saying he doesn't think the deal's good enough. He doesn't think that perhaps the UK should be giving away the Chagos Islands at all. And as I think it was Jerry Seinfeld said, he said, breaking up is a bit like trying to knock over a Coke machine. You've got to rock it back and forward a couple of times before it can go over. And what Keir Starmer seems to have done here is really just gone for it. I know the Tories were trying to do this. This has been around for some time, but he seems to have gone full pelt ahead, and it's biting him in the bum a little bit. And I think what we're going to find over the next couple of months is this Chagos deal is perhaps not as clear-cut as it once looked.
Yes, so is it because they want to, Leo, they want to bin it? It seems like Trump is very much not against it. I mean, just getting it for 99 years, it goes very quickly.
I think that's a Mauritius rumour.
Oh,
lovely work.
Hello.
Lovely
Joke of the
work.
week. Sorry, I was a bit David Brenty there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was strategically, given that we're entering a period of renewed global conflict, even though it's going to be a sort of, a chilled war, if not a cold war, between, Russia, China, and the West. It seems ridiculous to get rid of this strategic launch pad. This is basically a sort of, an aircraft carrier island right where we need it. And, it would essentially go to China, who then use it for strip mining, dynamite fishing, and launching airplanes to bomb us.
I choose a lot of these stories just to hear you say China. It's just China come in tangentially, then I will China. It's community. At the end, they were offered. A spokesman said the UK offered more money, and then the spokesman said, "I'm obviously not going to get into detail of private conversations." And I just want to say, I think that's really unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And also, go on, answer the question.
And also, a lease isn't as, if you actually own the island, if you've got ownership to the island, that means something. If you've got a lease, then, leases can be broken, so it doesn't
we actually skipped a story. I'm going to go back to it, but we're not going to have the graphics for it. Leo, this Starmer more unpopular after 5 months than any other PM in over 40 years. That's not great, is it?
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I'm amazed. You only had to go back like 40 years to find somebody who's more unpopular. I thought you'd have to go back to like the 12th century and find a king who like ate babies or something to find somebody more unpopular than Starmer. But yeah, this is a survey that was conducted recently that found that 61% of voters were dissatisfied with Keir's performance and 27% were satisfied. That 20% are obviously all unionised public sector workers. And Ipsos says this is the worst score, is -34, the worst score recorded for a Prime Minister after 5 months in office in its history dating back to Margaret Thatcher. But this is, this actually gives Keir Starmer some solace because Margaret Thatcher, obviously, at the end of the 70s, she was incredibly unpopular. She turned it around. So he just needs to fight with Argentina. He needs a war. And to be honest, Argentina are ideologically opposed to the Labour Party at the moment because they've got this libertarian free market leader who's actually, ironically, a lot like Margaret Thatcher. So, yeah, maybe Starmer and the Labour Party can go down and try and fight him.
Yeah, it's interesting to see his numbers, -34, compared to Tony Blair, the biggest numbers, +57.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Wow, best Prime Minister in my life.
That was before the Iraq War.
Whatever.
And all the other stuff.
He had a good 3 or 4 years.
I think he did some good stuff myself.
Yeah. But the thing is, the bad stuff he did, it wasn't apparent at the time how bad it was going to be.
Interestingly, I think some of the things with regards to university education and student fees and opening our borders for cheap Labour have come back to bite us. During that period, however, I was a young voter. He was the first person I ever voted for. I thought it was all marvellous.
Yeah.
You're right, maybe. It's interesting. You can get away... materially, I don't think Starmer's going to be overly impacted by this. He's 5 months into a 5-year reign, essentially. He enjoys the support of all his MPs currently. So I don't think we can get...
The fear of them.
Yeah.
Which is the same difference.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't get away with it in any other job, though, could you, Josh? I mean, if you had an OnlyFans account and 60% of your punters hated you, it'd be a very different experience.
I mean, do you think he has a bigger plan at play here, that he's playing to that 5 years? He's going, let's do all the hard stuff, rip off the bandage now, and then hope that things turn around, the economy, so that in a few years, when it comes back to an election, he can start doing the usual things, putting taxes down.
I genuinely think that's a good point. What could happen with Starmer, I'm not convinced it will happen, is that he believes he's laying all the groundwork at the moment, lots of unpopular stuff, and as a result, it all turns around and he gets everything he wants, he looks marvellous. I'm not convinced he's that skilled a politician to achieve that.
I've seen the one thing that before we move on is this person points out to John Curtis, who talks about how it's all about narrative. And that's an interesting way of phrasing these things, where you go, well, Trump had a narrative, make America great again. Even Obama had a narrative. And there's nothing really for Starmer to kind of buy into. And I assumed that lack of narrative was actually a positive before the election. Now that he hasn't got this, I thought he would come up with some sort of narrative, but he seems to be failing to do that.
And also, more important than narrative, when you're in power, when you're not trying to get elected, when you're actually just ruling the country, trying to run things, is the economy. And with the economy contracting and with, mass immigration, so that means each person's individual share, each person's GDP per capita is shrinking fast.
Yeah, but arguably the greatest mass immigration we saw was under a Tory government, and now they're dealing with, they are trying to get on top of it.
It's getting worse now. Like the economy was doing great guns under the Tories. These tax cuts have really hammered the
tax
economy.
cut as opposed to, But anyway, let's move on, because Paul, good news out of a tragedy in The Guardian.
It is really good news, actually, and it's nice to report on a good news story like this. Martha's rule having transformative effect on NHS England data shows. So Martha's rule is named after Martha Mills, who very tragically died in 2021, aged just 13. And this gives patients and their loved ones the right to request an urgent review of the person's in hospital treatment, and can lead to things like second opinions. And patients have been moved into intensive care and received potentially life-saving treatment as a result. And it's marvellous. I mean, this is obviously, as you said up top, and rightly so, this is incredibly tragic. What's interesting about this, it seems to be having a really solid effect, and it's helping save lives. But it's only in one hospital, and that's King's College Hospital.
No, I don't think. I think it's in 143 hospitals.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, but it is. In those 143 hospitals,
just in NHS England,
there's potentially saved 57 lives just in the last few months or something. So it works, Leo.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. I mean, you can't even imagine the pain this family's gone through, but to see lives, tens and potentially thousands, when it's implemented over years in all the hospitals.
Yeah, and especially when it's if it's 13-year-old girls getting saved. I think it's different if it's somebody who's 90. Not, maybe not getting the best care. They've already lived their lives, but I mean, it's so tragic.
Keir Starmer's making sure no one gets the 90, Leo, so it's no longer a problem.
Yeah, well, it's a good story. But it's good news. Proof in the Times, Leo, that if you're going to be part of a pedo ring, make sure it contains someone who works for the BBC.
I mean, that's been the advice for paedophiles for about 30 years now, 40 years. So paedophiles spared jail to be in parity with Hugh Edwards' sentence. This is a man, Jack Davies, who's part of the same paedophile network as Hugh Edwards. He's avoided jail after it was argued by his lawyer that his sentence should be similar to the one handed to the former BBC presenter.
Don't mention one-handed.
Yeah, but I mean, Hugh Edwards turned up to court, with his stuff. He thought he was going to go to jail. I don't know why he was treated so leniently. And this guy was revealed to have been in possession of 84 indecent images of children, including some involving videos of babies and images of boys as young as 3. It's absolutely despicable and vile stuff. I cannot believe, while we're sending people to jail for years for memes and for tweets because they took place during the riots or whatever, we're not dealing with anywhere near the same level of punishment for far worse crimes. I mean, this is absolutely horrific, and this drives real-life paedophilia. And Hugh Edwards, I mean, I'm sorry, the way he was treated, he was bailed so he could return to his home. Who knows what he could have had at his home that the police didn't discover? He lost his phone that the images were on. Oh, how convenient. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what else could have been there?
I mean, it arguably is a travesty that Hugh Edwards didn't go to jail, Paul, but the fact that this other pedo is getting off by using that as a defence, like, well, he didn't go to jail, so I shouldn't go to jail, is essentially what his lawyer said.
Yeah, and that's the danger of this. I mean, children are the most vulnerable members of our society, and we're collectively failing them by not punishing these people. What's very interesting and quite disturbing, in fact, is that this Alex Williams character rears his head again. Alex Williams is the guy who shared the images with Hugh Edwards. He's also the guy that this guy shared images with. Alex Williams, interestingly, from Wales, don't know why that's relevant, just come to mind, he was given a suspended sentence.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, perhaps I am. Perhaps subconsciously I am saying something. But he was given a suspended sentence as well. So you've got this whole chain of paedophiles that have been found guilty of sharing the most heinous of images, and all of them have got a suspended sentence. We're failing children.
I think we need to look at chemical castration, where you use chemicals to burn off their genitals.
Well, they're talking about that in Italy, aren't they?
They're going to burn off their genitals.
That's what they're going to do in Italy, yeah. But then people are saying it's racist because it might affect certain cultures more than others.
Which cultures?
Don't know what we're talking about. Plenty more still to come. Why is getting around Wales about to become more difficult? And how is Humza Yousaf going global? This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Good evening. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Whilst it's pretty mild at the moment, we are going to see temperatures dropping as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours or so. And before that, we have some strong winds and some heavy rain due to an area of low pressure that's currently tracking just to the north of the UK, and it is deepening as it does so. As a result, we've already seen the winds strengthening. The strongest winds overnight will be around western coastal parts. Here, gusts could reach 50 to 60 miles per hour, and there will be quite a bit of wet weather around, the heaviest, most persistent rain towards the north and west. With all the unsettled weather around, temperatures not dropping a huge amount, most places staying in high single figures, if not double digits. So it will be a mild start to the day for many of us tomorrow, but quite a blustery or windy one. Across southern parts of England, there will be some outbreaks of drizzly rain and also some low cloud bringing some hill fog. Across northern parts of England, some heavy persistent rain could cause some problems on the roads. Meanwhile, across Northern Ireland and Scotland, the more persistent rain will have pushed through, but there'll be plenty of showers following in behind. Whilst it will be a mild start to the day here, we're going to have some colder air coming in from the northwest. As a result, temperatures are actually going to drop in the north as we go through the day, and so there's a good chance that some of those showers will turn wintry, especially over higher ground. Otherwise, and we are going to see some bright weather for a time, some sunshine developing in many places, and in the south holding on to that milder air, so temperatures well above average for the time of year, but later on some wet weather feeding in from the southwest. That will then push through eastwards as we go overnight into Thursday, clearing away during Thursday morning. And then yes, there are some showers around on Thursday, but a good deal of dry and at times bright weather, but we have a northerly or northwesterly wind, so temperatures dropping. Thursday is going to be markedly colder than the start of this week. Temperatures should pick up again as we head towards the weekend with a bit of rain at times.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player app. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Before we continue, we're going to go through tomorrow's front pages. The Daily Telegraph. Musk ready to bankroll Farage. The Eye, victory for the victims of second post office IT scandal. Guardian, Moscow blast kills Russian chemical weapons chief. The Metro, brave and spirited to the end. Daily Mirror, we've been betrayed. And the Daily Star, poor Casso. Poor indeed. Kicking off with Wednesday's mail poll and the most profitable T-shirt in the world, is this?
It looks like it, possibly. Sad case there again. Ex-Lib Dem candidate sues party for 90k after she was suspended and labelled far-right bigot for wearing T-shirt with the slogan, woman, adult, human, female. This is Natalie Bird. She is a domestic abuse survivor, and she was called an illiberal TERF and suspended by the Lib Dems and banned from standing for the party as a party MP for a decade. And this is incredibly illiberal for the Liberal Democrats. And what next? Where does this lead? I know we cover this a lot, but should we be asking all female candidates to give us a definition of woman and then basically reward the ones that get it wrong? That's what we were doing in the election, though, wasn't it? Yeah. Exactly that. But this is... It's insane, the level of abuse that she received from her own party, how she was kicked out, she's not allowed to stand for 10 years, which is double the amount if you've been found guilty of election fraud. So she's now going for £90,000. But, Leo, the one thing about this that I wouldn't say disturbs me, but she's doing it on the basis of hurt feelings, as opposed to necessarily her thwarted parliamentary career or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that shows that, you know, if you're in the Liberal Democrats, the entire currency is feelings. So, I mean, if she was in a proper political party, she might be dealing with real issues. But yeah, I mean, I think she is a far-right bigot. She joined a party that considers, I bet she considers me a far-right bigot for things. So yeah, you're a far-right bigot because you think a woman is a woman. Imagine, like, we're at the stage where just quoting the Oxford English Dictionary definition.
Let's see this T-shirt. Let's see how offensive it is, because it's... oh, my God.
So this is the dictionary definition.
How dare she?
This is the dictionary definition of a woman. And that makes you a far-right bigot now. And yeah, fine, deal with it. You're in the Liberal Democrats. You probably think that anybody who questions multiculturalism or notices grooming gangs is a far-right bigot as well.
Well, the interesting thing is that a lot of people who have been involved in this argument over the last few years, who come from the left, have found exactly this reaction. And that has opened their eyes, possibly, to other issues and how this term far-right bigot or whatever is used as a way to shut down debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found themselves in a trap, I think, Josh. A lot of people on the left share the same thoughts that you and I do, and Leo does too. And they can't do anything about it now. This is I'm always very disappointed when it's the Liberal Democrats. I think they've always had an opportunity to stand out and be different, and they always choose to follow the crowd.
Yeah, no, it is sad. Telegraph now. Leo, teenage Starmer, would have dreamed of making it to #1, but not like this, surely.
I don't know if he would. I don't think Keir Starmer, even as a teenager, had dreams.
No, we've got the photo. Where's the... hopefully we have the photo somewhere.
He slept in a box and just awoke.
His dad made. With the tools his dad made.
Yeah, like a robot. But yeah, humiliation for Labour as Sir Starmer and the Granny Harmers song surges in the charts. This is a song called Freezing This Christmas, which is based on Mud's 1974 festive #1, Lonely This Christmas, that mocks Labour's decision to strip 10 million pensioners of the winter fuel payment. You can probably remember the Mud song from the first. The lyrics, they've reworked the lyrics. It says, "It'll be freezing this Christmas without fuel at home. It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer is warm."
Oh,
we've got it.
Let's play.
It'll be freezing this Christmas without fuel at home. It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer's warm.
Very catchy.
I mean, it's not exactly Yeats, the lyrics, but I mean, it's fun. It's a fun thing. We've got a history of
fun pensioners freezing to death.
It's a fun poke at the government song. You know, this is what we do in this country. We have Guy Fawkes, we have people making songs for Christmas, and also it's raising money for charity, but it's not getting airplay on BBC One or Radio 1 or whatever the BBC thing is.
Yeah, you don't listen to BBC anymore.
Famously, BBC Radio don't like old people, do they? Normally fire them and then they have to go to Greatest Hits Radio to continue their career. It's a shame, though, because they've raised £15,000 so far, and they could raise a lot more than that. I mean, that's just in download profit. If they were getting radio airplay, they could raise tens
possibly.
of thousands.
But then the thing is, sort of the way they make it is like it's going to be it's a big hit. It's going up the charts. It's in the charts, and then you go, oh, it's a number 85.
Yeah,
that's great. It's cracked the top 100.
Okay, I assumed they were talking top 20, but it would be interesting to see it going to #1, not just for raising money, of course, for elderly people, for Help the Aged, is it? I think.
Yeah.
But also because then it does force the BBC to be put into a position of, are they going to be impartial or not?
It's like Frankie Goes to Hollywood all over again. It's like, or Ebenezer Goode. If it gets to #1, you've got to play it.
I think Frankie Goes to Hollywood are probably older than the people we saw in that
Frankie's
video.
grown up and now he has to go to hospital because he's freezing cold.
Yeah.
Paul, mail next. And without English, how will the Welsh communicate?
Oh, who knows? Furious Wales plots to drop English names from Senate seats under Welsh-only plan, despite a mid-warning it will defranchise the voters. So,
Fury!
Yeah, exactly. So this is only, apparently, and I didn't realise until I read this August, only 29% of Wales speak Welsh, so it's not a huge, it's less than a third. And under the proposals...
That's less than speak in bleating, like a sheep.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. And under the proposals, only 4 of its constituents will remain English names, and that's because they're already adopting the Welsh version of the name anyway. I find it fascinating, actually, because the more devolution takes hold on the country, like Wales and Scotland, the more insular they seem to become, more nationalistic they seem to become. If they celebrate Welsh and Scottishness in a way that the English could never celebrate, if they were to do that, we'd probably be in a bit of trouble or put on some...
Well, maybe we should get rid of Welsh here.
Well, as a Scottish person, I find the whole this sort of government forcing of traditional languages, like in Scotland, you see Gaelic on all the signs, which is our language, like Welsh that nobody speaks. I mean, I think more people, to be fair to the Welsh, more people speak Welsh than Scottish people speak Gaelic. Nobody outside the islands really speaks it in Scotland, but you still see it everywhere because the government has to spend lots of money shoving it down our throats to try and hive us off and make us different from England. But I think if they do put Welsh language on things, it'll just give Hugh Edwards another excuse for. I didn't know what this message was.
Well, it's the Welsh language is already on there. It's taking all the English signs off, and the Welsh language here, dediring, caedir, penath, whatever. It's a lot longer. I think it would destroy their tourist industry as such if you're going to have to use Welsh signs to get around solely. So we'll see if that backfires.
Also, run out of ink. Well, all the words are super long.
And how much money is it costing them extra? Right, moving on to the Telegraph, Leo. And is this like the time that I got dumped, but I pretended I left her for a Canadian girlfriend?
So Humza Yousaf is to step down to take up a role on the global stage. Well, that's pretty hopeful of him. I mean, does he know? Does Humza Yousaf know that he's Humza Yousaf? That's what I've got to ask. He thinks he's I'm off to lead the United Nations after driving Scotland into the ground. Yeah. So he's quitting Scottish politics to take up a role on the global stage and help to bring peace to the world. I mean, he managed to unite Scotland in thinking that he's absolutely rubbish.
And to vote Labour.
Yeah. And he also hopes to contribute to conflict resolution across the world and fighting far-right extremism in the West, although all his actions just encourage it, such as when he went on a big anti-white tirade in Parliament. I mean, a lot of the stuff he says, it's sort of like when you ask a Miss World what their dreams are. It's like, I want to bring about world peace and I want to, open a dolphin sanctuary. But he was absolutely useless. He was out after a year. I think Humza Yousaf is great because as well as bringing through the most ridiculous hate crime law, he also just destroyed the SNP. They shrunk to I think it was about a quarter of the seats in Westminster.
I mean, he's only 39, so he has potential to mess up a lot more institutions.
He could do, couldn't he? He said that he's going to use his experience. I mean, it's a bit like Hugh Edwards using his experience to present children in need. I don't know really what his experience is what it's going to lend it to.
Well, he says he's a pioneer in Scottish politics. He didn't say that. Someone else said that. John Sweeney, his successor, said he has been a pioneer in Scottish politics. Now, in what way has he been a pioneer in Scottish politics?
Nobody's crashed a party that fast.
So, because of his politics, he will tell us that he's the first person...
Second shortest minister in Scotland, by the way.
Shortest in height.
Second short... Well...
I mean, I think Wee Nippy was the shortest, but... yeah, I mean, he was the first brown-coloured skin Scottish leader, and I think that's about his greatest achievement.
That's terrifying. If that's what they mean by that.
It seems to come down to that, doesn't it?
Wow. OK. Coming up, crackers still on the way. Why the Pope owes the English, and what's dangerous about an Xmas tree? Find out in a couple of minutes.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Unsettled at times across western parts of Europe with some stronger winds and perhaps some outbreaks of rain, but elsewhere it should be largely settled. Fairly breezy around Madeira, though largely dry, just a bit cloudy. Perhaps some thicker cloud moving into parts of Portugal with a risk of some rain, and also fairly breezy around coasts. But elsewhere it's going to be largely settled, lots of dry weather around, though perhaps just a few showers around northern parts of Italy. And the remaining largely settled as we head into the weekend, just a slight dip in temperatures by Saturday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Donna Ida, who joins us now. And Donna, you look spectacular in your gorgeous denim jumpsuit.
Thank you.
And accessories. And it's important, isn't it, sometimes, just to keep things simple?
I always keep things simple. I travel a lot, I work long hours, and I don't want to think too much about what I'm wearing. So for me, one and done is perfect. Good accessories, fresh hair, nice makeup, and you can go anywhere. including GB News, when you didn't know what was happening.
There we go.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Straight off the plane.
Can we ask you some of our top denim questions?
Yes.
Because Stephen Dixon, the presenter of The Breakfast Show who's just on, said that double denim to him is an absolute no-go.
Oh, what does
Is that true?
Don't have him on again, darling.
OK. We're telling me
I love double denim.
Really?
I love it. I think it is so cool.
Does it have to be a different
I was going to
tones?
say double denim, same colour.
Or same
I
tones?
like the... For me, I actually do like the same. Think Saint Laurent 70s. There's an amazing one that we're doing that's going to look great on you in the new season. The Joan Jean, we've got the City Slicker shirt. Oh, it's amazing. If it's done well, it's perfect. And I like it in a paler blue, but a good mid to dark. Very chic.
Yeah, you go.
No, well, I was just thinking, little old me, not quite sure
You'd look amazing
what to wear
in
this
it.
morning. How
was
do
a bit
guys
stressed.
pull off denim?
For me, if I was dressing you, I would have put you in a pair of jeans this morning with his amazing jumper. Gorgeous watch.
Black, blue?
Black denim I do like. Men don't like it so much. Men like charcoal denim.
Oh, I don't like grey.
Charcoal. I love grey, and the best seller for men is charcoal denim.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight into it with Wednesday's Guardian. Leo, I hope 007 didn't seduce the Pope.
No, and that would be something we wouldn't like to see. So the Pope says he was almost assassinated in 2021, but British intelligence foiled the plot. This is official British Secret Service intelligence, not just some smart British people. So Pope Francis said he escaped a double suicide bombing during a visit to Iraq. I mean, if you're going to get suicide bombed, it could well be there. 3 years ago, after the attempts on his life were foiled by British intelligence and Iraqi police. So he was advised against going to Iraq because COVID was still raging. I mean, I'm sure that's your number one concern. We're going to like a raging war-torn hellhole. But yeah, he went to Iraq, and there were two plots to blow him up. One was a woman who was heading towards Mosul to blow herself up, and a truck was also heading there fast with the same intention, or possibly. I mean, they don't make it clear in this, but I think it was somebody driving the truck. I don't think we had.
It could be one of Elon Musk's self-driving.
Yeah, or some sort of anthropomorphized Disney truck. But yeah, according to his book, it said Iraqi police intercepted them and made them explode.
I like
Which they were going to do anyway.
Yeah, he said, what happened to them? They went, they're no longer here. Which does beg the question, Paul, of course, whether if he hadn't gone to Iraq, would they still be alive?
They might, yeah.
As a moral question.
This is a moral question. I wasn't expecting the humanitarian angle of this. Would the suicide bombers still be alive if the Pope hadn't gone there? I'm not sure we can blame the Pope for this. Good old Blighty, though. It's great to see how brilliant our special services are, given, really how inept our politicians can be. I mean,
can we swap them round?
All recent Home and Foreign Secretaries, you wouldn't You wouldn't leave in charge of your cat.
It's nice that they're looking out for the Pope. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and also, but this is in his new book. The Pope's got a new book out. Buy it for Christmas. That's allowed.
All the money goes to the Vatican.
Yeah, it is ghost written. It was written by Italian author Carlo Musso, so that's not the first book that's been written by pseudonym. OK, mail next, Paul. Who's got dirty balls?
Well, not me. I had a wash earlier. But Christmas decorations harbour 5 times as many germs as the average toilet seat, a study shows. Well, much like my toilet seat, I don't lick my Christmas tree, so I don't think this is going to be a problem. But this was carried out, this survey was carried out by the initial washroom hygiene people, and they used swab tests to analyse germs on 25 Christmas decorations in 5 homes, and the results revealed that tree boxes harboured the most germs, while tree lights contain the least, with 80% of all infections transmitted through hands. So, I mean, basically, wash your hands.
And then, well, this is it. It's a family activity, Leo. People put up the Christmas tree decorations. Obviously, people didn't see it, but the tree behind you guys, we all did that together. Remember?
We did. Great time.
That was a good time. We were laughing and eggnog and whatnot.
But it's not like we passed around the baubles. I don't understand. Who's touching these baubles more than once? You put it on the tree, you leave it until, like, sometime in January when it comes down again. Gets touched once a year. And also, I think this is written. This is a press release by the toilet seat lobby, because toilet seats.
Big toilet seat.
Oh, there's more germs.
Toilet seat.
There's more germs in this than on toilet seats. Toilet seats are made out of a material that doesn't harbour germs, because it's a toilet seat. Obviously, that's going to
3 times more dirty than a toilet seat. That's crazy. Sticking with the mail for more health news, Leo, and the dangers of Brussels sprouts.
So a doctor reveals the terrifying reason why you should never hold farts in. The toxins could end up in your mouth. So apparently, this is according to Dr. Karen Rajan, failing to let the gas escape from your bottom could cause it to end up in your mouth. But if you release it, it'll end up in other people's mouths. So
and your mouth as well.
Yeah.
Either way. Lose.
This surely only applies to women, though. Men don't hold their farts in. Men celebrate their farts.
No, not at the beginning of a relationship. That's the most dangerous time to be a man.
Yeah.
Is because I probably held mine in for at least 3 years.
Yeah. He also warns that if you don't fart, there's another thing that can happen to you. The volume of gas can stretch the delicate tissues in the rectum, leading to serious digestive disorders. I mean, like, if you're swelling like a beach ball, I think people are going to let
just let it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Just let it out.
Well, you heard it here. Fart away for your own health. The show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Wednesday's front pages. The Daily Telegraph, Musk ready to bankroll Farage. The Eye, victory for the victims of second post office IT scandal. Guardian, Moscow blast kills Russian chemical weapons chief. The Metro, brave and spirited to the end. Daily Mirror, we have been betrayed. And the Daily Star, poor Casso. That is it for tonight's show. Thank you very much to my guests, Leo and Paul. Simon Evans is hosting tomorrow, 11 p.m, with Nick Dixon and Lewis Schaefer. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, then stay tuned for breakfast. Thank you very much for sticking with us all the way.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Whilst it's pretty mild at the moment, we are going to see temperatures dropping as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours or so. And before that, we have some strong winds and some heavy rain due to an area of low pressure that's currently tracking just to the north of the UK, and it is deepening as it does so. As a result, we've already seen the winds strengthening. The strongest winds overnight will be around western coastal parts. Here, gusts could reach 50 to 60 miles per hour, and there will be quite a bit of wet weather around, the heaviest, most persistent rain towards the north and west. With all the unsettled weather around, temperatures not dropping a huge amount, most places staying in high single figures, if not